Forza Motorsport is a world-known racing series and a big rival to Gran Turismo. Well, at least it was. It was quite a bit months after Forza Motorsport 8 released, and the reviews were, to say the least, bad. But I had hope for the game, and unfortunately the hope did not redeem itself. First issue I met is absolutely horrendous optimization. I have an RTX 2080, and yet the game crashed 3 times on launch. After I managed to get into the game, after a long shader optimization, without fiddling with the settings, the car steered like literal boats with a 30-degree steering lock. The FPS were never stable, dropped to 40 very often, and the best I have ever got is 50 to 60 FPS. First launch, the FPS dropped horrendously near the finish. I mean a game-freezing FPS drop, so 2 to 3 FPS. Also, a good handful of reused cars were in game. The graphics were not so impressive, it's just a standard graphics game, and they said they developed the game ground up for 5 years, but it feels like the game has been in development for a year maximum. For example, there is only 20 tracks in the game, which are all repetitive and uninteresting. I finally loaded into the game after a long shader optimization, and here's the menu with an FPS drop. As you can see, even on this stage, the game is far away from smooth. The menus are minimalistic, I like them, but they are very lazily made. For example, when I go to select tracks, they just show the track name, and as you can see, there are very little tracks and very out-of-pocket tracks like Mid-Ohio Sports Car Course. As we're loading in, we get a lot of unnecessary pop-ups, and we're finally on the track. And as you can see, the FPS are very unstable. There are quite some issues in the visuals. And if we go into the interior view, we can see that the gouges are in absolutely bad quality. And I'm playing on high settings, and I'm recording in 2K, so it's not a recording or a game problem. This is actually how I saw the gouges in the game. Like, what are these square shadows? There is a plethora of issues with the reflections and with the overall visuals, I said before. You can see that the game has a base, but it's really far away from being a smooth game. And I'm surprised that this game actually somehow passed quality control. But I mean, it's Microsoft. So this game also has a career mode, and I'm really disappointed with the starter car selection. So, as said before, I like good progression, but so we've got a front-wheel drive Japanese car and an all-wheel drive Japanese car. Both have 4-cylinder engines. And then we have a curb hitter and a crowd killer. I don't know whoever made these choices, but they're certainly unbalanced and, to say the least, wrong. So I decided to stay safe and chose the Subaru, and as you can see, there's the career mode. I was forced through this tutorial as if I was playing some cheaply made mobile game, and after I finally got the chance to load into the race, I was met with a slideshow. And we are on track once again, this time on Mugello, and for some reason I have to complete 3 practice laps and then 4 normal laps. The interior camera position is offset, and after a good 5 minutes of unenjoyable driving, I am met with a second slideshow. Just for the perspective, this black loading screen was on for around 2 minutes. After I got into the race, I didn't know where the AI balanced or unbalanced because I had some overtakes, and it's just really weird. And yeah, the same issue comes back, 40 FPS. The game also stutters like this often. So as you can see from my review, the game is not enjoyable, and I don't know if you would play it, because in my opinion it's now in a sort of a beta stage. I doubt that there will be any improvement, because Forza has been tone deaf on this case. Like, everybody is outraged with the performance issues and all the game issues, and they just post a guide how to build your first car. So I've heard many great things about the online mode, so I decided to try it for myself. And well, let's say you need a lot of time on your hands to play in it, because unlike Gran Turismo, it has mid-race intervals, so like one race starts at 10 AM and the other one from the same class starts at 10:30, but you can just do something and then join 5 minutes before 10:30, do a qualification lap, but in this case you have to stay all the 30 minutes in that lobby doing practice and training, from what I know. This is the qualifying in a Civic and app. Japanese track which is not really perfect, but it's okay amongst other fictional tracks in Forza Motorsport. So I have to do qualification laps, but in this case I have a limit of 3, I think. Since I didn't have too much time on my hands, I decided to stop on the qualification part. But from what I heard, the online in this game can get pretty fun. Even though Forza Motorsport reuses a lot of cars, the car roster is still great as in any other Forza game. It's very rich, it's filled with great cars that everyone can like. On the other hand, the detail in these cars might lack, like shown in this example, comparing a Civic in Forza Motorsport 8 and Gran Turismo 7. So I decided to take the famous Gordon Murray T50 and test it on Le Mans. This 90-degree steering lock is driving me crazy with the gameplay. So in conclusion, I really want to like this game, because the menus, the music, somewhere even the gameplay looks very good and feels great, and this game has unlimited potential. But on the other side of things, Microsoft completely ruined all of this potential, just made a lazy project, will probably never be polished, probably because people nowadays resort to Horizon series and the popularity of track racing games is slowly dying out, but they could still try some effort and make something well worth it, like Gran Turismo 7.